Hey there, you're listening to You Still Going On About That with Rob Israel and Joseph K. You can find us anywhere you could download podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at YSGOAT. Thanks for listening. I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that?
All right, Joseph, it is March 31st.
Yeah.
But we're on the cusp of April 1st, which is that a thing?
It is. Yeah. This is my daughter's favorite holiday is April 1st. She's a big prankster. So, yeah.
What kind of pranks do you do? Like she lies and tells you something and like psychological games, like those kind of pranks?
The best one, and she actually got me on this, is that last year she told me the toilet was smoking. And I raced upstairs to see what could possibly be wrong with the toilet. And she had arranged toilet paper rolls as googly eyes and a paper towel roll sticking out of the toilet to make it look like it was smoking a cigarette. It was really funny.
That's good. I thought when you would say that when you started talking about paper products and a smoking toilet, that she was the bathroom on fire.
No.
This is actually... I would think if somebody were to say, if a child said, now I get it, that's very funny, the toilet is smoking. Like,
yes, like it's smoking a cigar or something.
It'd be even better if she just left a giant shit in the bowl and said, the toilet's smoking. And
this
big old cigar.
This was a good one. So,
no, that is good. It's a little more innocent.
Yes.
Better than my direction where she burns down your bathroom. Which would mean that she loves to dance with fire, which means you might have to get some outside help.
Right, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Then you're just got to start teaching her a code like Dexter's dad, and then another thing.
You gotta be wary of the dark passenger. You gotta
the fire demon that lives inside. So by the time you guys listen to this, it will be April Fool's.
Yeah.
April Fool's is a day where people do pranks, as Joseph just said. And you will, I don't know, last year was weird because we, were just really getting into COVID. I guess the prank was just set in place by Trump in January. Yeah. Joke was on us.
Yep.
Over 500,000, borderline 600,000 dead. So.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Joke just keeps on coming. It doesn't stop. COVID-19. Thank Trump for that one.
But yes, it will be April 1st when this is released. The wee small hours of April 1st, and it'll be a good one. We'll have a lot of interesting topics.
And we won't. This isn't a prank. We're not tricking you guys in here. We're not going to be like in the end of the episode, like, haha, just kidding. You might. I don't know what the prank would be. Like you'd be like, what do they mean?
Yeah.
Go back and listen to it 100 times to find the clues. Or the codes. There's got to be codes in there, and then all of a sudden you guys are in QAnon, and that's the prank.
Yeah, right.
Have you been watching the QAnon show?
Yes. Have you watched it?
Yeah, I'm on episode 4. I guess they air 2 at a time.
That sounds. Yeah.
So I just finished episode 4. I mean, I haven't learned anything new that I already know. I knew that Watkins Creek was involved with it. I didn't know his son. I know who the guy in the wheelchair is because he was the guy who if not one of the creators of the creator of 8chan and trying to distance himself from it, especially after the El Paso shooting. So Vice did a thing on him. I've seen a bunch of stuff on him. I don't know. There's 2 episodes left. It's interesting, but I feel like they're not focusing so much on what makes the cult actually dangerous. As to just like, who is it? And I don't think it's a mystery who QAnon is. I never thought it was just one guy. I just figured it was all different people who were connected in some form, in some way, to the Trump administration or the Trump campaign.
Yeah.
I'll
say this. It's a slick show. I mean, it's well produced and I like it. It's a good look at this kind of thing, but you're right. I mean, I agree that the central mystery isn't who is Q, because Q is fake anyway. Like there is no Q the way Q is presenting himself.
Yeah, it's not the deep throat guy.
Yeah.
And, I'm not talking about the classic movie.
No. But I'll tell you, I read an article this morning where apparently Japan is like, they're super conspiracy theory crazy. They love conspiracy theories are a very big problem in Japan, but they did not fall for the Q. They interviewed a whole bunch of people in Japan, and they're like, this doesn't make any sense.
You know why?
Well,
stupid Q.
Well, their theory was that in Japan, they aren't like a lot of Q. The Q conspiracy theory is built on the idea that like Democrats are evil or liberals or progressives are evil. And in Japan, they don't really view politics in that way. You know, they're not as like.
It's not as you're saying, like, they're not just, there isn't this bias and like, how Matt Gaetz, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a bunch of things. But Matt Gaetz is, and we'll get into this too. Matt Gaetz is a perfect example of like QAnon's complete horseshit, because right now Marjorie Taylor Greene should be like demanding the removal of Matt Gaetz from the Congress because
he's a child trafficker. Yeah, allegedly a child trafficker.
This thing where supposedly they were concerned about child trafficking and all that, but really what QAnon is just another blood libel, anti-Semitic cult.
Yeah,
they tend to attract a lot of evangelicals, tend to attract a lot of anti-Semites. There's a lot of stuff involved. It all leads to, and it's the same satanic panic. We're going to get into that in a second. The whole like Hollywood is evil and they're trying to eat your children. There's a pizza place in the basement and that doesn't exist, and they're trafficking children. And then we know QAnon was bullshit because it kind of went silent after Trump lost back in November when it was, and like QAnon was silent all of a sudden. And I was like, I'm not shocked because it's just a stupid thing to get rabble up Trump supporters. And Trump lost, so therefore, there's no purpose for it anymore. It still exists because there's people who got sucked into it. But I mean, you know, the fish, if the thing doesn't have a head, it's gonna rot, and QAnon will morph into something else. Well,
QAnon was predicated on the idea that that Trump was in charge of things, and there were some people in the government that were like, but none of that makes any sense anymore. Like the whole QAnon narrative doesn't make any sense. And also towards the end, QAnon kept pushing those claims that Trump would be installed president on like April 14th
they said originally it was, January 6th was the start.
Right.
But then they said that on March 4th,
that was it
installed. And that didn't happen. And then, but that was like the big one, March 4th. Like there were people supposedly went to DC and everything. And like they paid like 3 times the rate at the Trump hotel.
Yep. Suckers.
Listen, I think it's great that the Trump people were like willing to take advantage of these people, you know? Get it, squeeze that lemon a little bit before they don't have anything left, you know? And then there was supposed to be like a March 20th one. But by that point, it was there. I think a lot of people started to accept the fact that Q might be complete bullshit. The people on the outside of it. I mean, a lot of these people came from like flat Earth groups and everything. They're all like, these are like Sandy Hook denial people, which is insane. We talked about that in the last episode.
A lot of flat earthers.
Yeah,
seriously,
and again, it's all globalist. It's all like has something to do with evil rich Jews stealing your children and drinking their blood.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it was another one of those like, hey, are you unhappy with your lot in life? It's certainly not your fault or the result of any decisions you made. It's these other people over here that are causing you all this harm.
And then you find out though that a lot of these people in these groups, like they're not people who you think are downtrodden or
no,
they're actually like business owners, doctors, like supposedly smart people, supposedly well-educated people, real estate agents.
Yeah, but
people who have some marginal success in their life.
But the real estate agent, the problem was like these realtors were the ones that like had done really well for a while when the real estate market was hot, and all they had to do is they didn't even have to roll out of bed. They could lay in bed, and people would be like begging them to like move homes for them. And then that kind of dried up and they had to work for their money and they didn't like it. They suddenly felt unsuccessful because they had to work, you know? I don't know. The Q stuff is fascinating.
Well, it's not, I just don't, like I said, I know we're talking about this too long, but like we're 4 episodes into the show and they're just kind of focusing on like who they think Q is. And I think I said, I don't think there is. My conspiracy, which is my QAnon of QAnon, try thinking what that means, is that there is no actual Q, because it was just something that worked in tandem with the Trump administration. It was always a proverbial carrot being held in front of Trump supporters to get them excited to vote for a man who really was not very good as president.
It's remarkable how bad he was at everything. I mean, really, like, can you think of a single success he had? Like,
anything he would, like the tax cut, that's not a success.
Yeah, I guess, you're right. He probably did set out to do some things and achieve them. I guess those could be considered successes.
But you mean like what made the country better?
Yeah, just like something that, like most presidents have something where like even the detractors are like, well, they were terrible, but
I'll give him this. Here, I got one for him.
Oh yeah.
Because he caused COVID to happen. I was thinking about this. He sped up because of his disaster of handling COVID.
Yeah.
The one positive outcome that I could say about it, and I only could speak for our area because I don't travel the country very often, not lately at least. I'm going to start doing that soon again at some point. Is that, you remember credit card machines, how they said we were so behind when it came to like the chip?
Yeah.
But because of COVID came along and places were trying to find ways to like speed up, it forced retailers to have no touch, where you can literally just put your card over it and it reads it. You don't even have to fucking like.
That is true.
So good job, Trump.
He turned Georgia blue too. I didn't think that would happen anywhere.
I could say like George W. Bush trying to put in this draconian heterosexual marriage only thing was the thing that led to basically gay marriage. But I wouldn't say that. I would never credit George W. Bush for that. It's like, you're a reactionary piece of shit. And because of your stupid bullshit, you basically helped speed up civil rights in a way.
Yeah.
Because you helped remind people that you were trying to harm them. So you could say the same thing about Trump and the GOP, about the Georgia vote, that they got more people out to vote, probably because the people that were getting in power are horrendous and intend to harm you in some way or form. Again, they do not deserve the credit for
No, I will watch the rest of the Q miniseries. I like it a lot. It's like I said, it's real well done. I like the production value of it and everything. It looks slick and it's kind of interesting.
That one guy I fucking despise is that Ron Watkins guy. He's such a creep.
Oh,
He's got the mustache. I'm surprised they haven't gone into it. I heard that guy's supposedly like a pedo.
I could see that, certainly.
Definitely has some strong pedo energy, that's for sure, right?
It is the anyone kind of in on the QAnon thing is skeevy to some extent. Like they either are psychotic or they're skeevy or they're just sort of like this weird pervy energy, or they're like, I don't know. There's always something like super off-putting about anyone QAnon.
Well, this guy, though, I wouldn't say. See, the thing I don't like, the thing about this guy that drives me nuts is he tries to act like he tries to play dumb in front of the camera. Like, I'm not aware of these things. I'm just a caveman lawyer. I don't know any of these things. And it's like, dude, fuck off. Anyone that says, I know people that say shit like, I'm not political. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You saying you're not political is like political statement in itself, and you use that as
probably
you use it as you ever notice like anytime like someone spouts say anything progressive, they're the ones being political.
Yeah.
When it's right-wing leaning
Right.
shit,
Yeah.
or more centrist, center right leaning shit, that's the norm.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of like base that off the myth that like America at some point in the past was like a perfect nation, and they're just trying to reclaim what we already had. You know, they're the ones that are the defenders of the traditional status quo. You know, maybe from a certain.
Well, yeah. Okay, so the thing about so let's just go over what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. All right. So I have a list, and it's a little nebulous because there's like subtopics with these, but basically we're talking about Lil Nas, the big Lil Nas incident, and that's going to lead into Matt Gaetz, which is another big deal, and then we're going to have this kind of thing on like Georgia voting and the kind of the blooming corporate backlash. We're going to hear Ben Shapiro's hot take on it. And we're going to talk also in there. We're going to talk a little bit about like the Biden's infrastructure plan and the right to work. And I think those are all kind of like predicated on the notion that like people should have the right to work in unison toward a goal. They should be able to work in unison towards voting.
Right to work though is a double speak that,
and it's a union busting law.
It's a union busting law. There's 27 states in the country that are right to work. We are in a right to work state right now. Yeah. It is double speak in the worst way possible.
Yes.
Because it is literally the opposite of right to work.
Yeah. And the idea, I see that as like a similar issue to voting, because when you talk about voting rights, you talk about like you should be able to gather your friends and drive them down to the polls. And if they're hungry, bring them a pizza and this, that, and whatever. Water. Yeah, give them water. And that's like banding together to vote. And the same thing with unions, you band together to, you know, leverage a better deal.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that one.
And then we're going to talk about the transgender, it's not a ban, but it's like Arkansas's
fucked up law that Arkansas or something put in, or decision they just put through. It's basically just denying healthcare to trans kids. I don't know if that means like, I don't think they're denying them full healthcare. I guess they're trying to deny like anything to do with transitioning.
Yes.
What I'm assuming. But as always, it's not that simple, and it's pretty damn hideous.
It's a little nuanced in some ways. I'm anxious to talk about that one.
Well, it's kind of like when you say like ban abortion, that opens the door for like other things, and it's like well, because it's not just abortion. It's like there's a lot of factors involved.
Yes.
And they always try to simplify it, and it's not. Okay, go ahead.
And then we're going to talk about, then we got kind of a hodgepodge of things that are just generally funny. Palin catching COVID.
Oh, hysterical.
Which is kind of funny. Chet Hanks's White Boy Summer.
Yeah, that's
which
weird.
Is sadly funny. New York making recreational marijuana.
Hey, you know what? Just keep exposing Andrew Cuomo, and fuck, we'll just get like New York will be like the best state to live in by the next 6 months. Just keep finding shit about him. That thing happened a lot. It was going to happen at some point, but I feel like it happened a lot quicker.
Kind of snuck up on me.
Everyone will smoke and forget about.
We're going to talk. I don't know where we're going to put this, but probably towards the end. There's 2 Capitol police officers suing Donald Trump personally, which is just funny.
And let's talk about that first. Get that out of the way. But,
and then that's kind of it. That's the show. Okay. Yeah. Before we talk about Lil Nas, I guess two Capitol Hill police officers sued Donald Trump today and said you incited the riot that caused us psychological and physical harm. Yeah. And they filed it against Donald Trump himself. It says two Capitol police officers filed a civil suit Tuesday against former President Donald Trump for physical and emotional injuries they suffered as a result of the January 6th Capitol riot.
Back to blue.
Yeah, right.
Just like Charlie Daniels said before he, when he died, he said,
Yeah.
Benghazi never dies or something. I don't know what the fuck he said.
Well, it appears that these two officers, they were roughed up pretty bad, and they were both like long-term Capitol Hill officers. That they weren't rookies or anything. They'd been there for a while. And
maybe they should just retire.
Well, they're suing Trump, and I don't know. I mean, like,
good. I think it's great because he's not president anymore. He doesn't have the presidency to protect him. I mean, he's got money, so he'll probably have better lawyers, but I think they have a pretty good case against him.
Yeah, and I would say that, like, the one thing I've been disappointed in is that I was told, I was promised a flood of biblical proportions of lawsuits.
I think they're coming. I think a lot of them you don't even know about yet. They take a lot longer than you think.
I agree, but I had been hearing about indictments waiting to be unsealed on the day after inauguration. I had been hearing about I
think that was all.
I think I was building it up in my head. I will admit to that.
Setting it up. I think it's more like it's kind of funny because it's like, again, he's not on social media anymore.
Yeah.
And you get some of these idiots sometimes who be like, oh, I miss him. I'm not talking about like right wingers. It's like on the left, something they'll say like, oh, they miss him. I'm like, really? Do you? Get the fuck out of here. No, fuck him. I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad, in my mind, he's been dead for like since January.
Yeah.
And like I said, there was like that images that came of him like at Mar-a-Lago, and he was like surrounded by all these creepy, weird women.
Yeah.
And so fucking miserable. It looked like one of those shitty wax sculpture museums. And he, or the end of it reminded me of like the last scene of Phantom of the Paradise. You ever see Phantom of the Paradise?
Oh yeah, Kissing the Phantom.
Such a good movie.
Yeah,
I love that movie. Phantom of Paradise is like Brian De Palma, early 70s.
Oh, yes, I've seen that. I was in my head thinking of the Kiss Phantom.
Oh God, no! Fuck that Phantom of the Park or whatever.
Yes, Phantom of the Park.
That's some TV movie garbage. No, that was shit.
Right.
No, Phantom of the Paradise is.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I do now. I did not a second ago.
He has like a weird helmet, and he sounds like Darth Vader a little bit, but it's pre-Vader.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's such an awesome movie with like music and everything. It has this like great ending. Everything like falls apart. And it looks, that image of him and being surrounded by all these women, weird old ladies. Like, he's in hell right now. He doesn't want to be around these people.
No.
He wants to be pissed on by Russian hookers and young Russian hookers. He likes them young, just like Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
That's why Matt Gaetz was so close to him. And we'll get into that. I don't know. I don't. I think a lot of these cases, I think they're going to come up when they do, but I think the fact that more stuff like this is going to come out, I don't think it's just going to be these two policemen.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be more people. There could be a lot of lawsuits involved, especially just from January 6th alone.
Right.
What the fuck? Did they really? Now I always like wonder. Now the GOP I think is more insidious, but like Trump and his family, did they really think when January 6th was going to go down that Trump would remain president?
Yeah. I think they did, to be honest with you. I think that they, to some extent drank the Kool-Aid on that. I think they fully expected to win. I really do.
I think the GOP knew that none of this would happen. I think their plan was to just make people even more disengaged when it comes to voting.
Yeah.
Make people more disengaged when it comes to politics. This was like a shock and awe. To make people feel like nothing is real and anything like that. They knew that Trump wasn't going to stay in power.
Yeah.
I think after January 6th that he would be still president. I can't like.
Well,
it's like, dude, you've been in the United States your whole life. You're an American. Shit like this doesn't happen in the United States. This isn't like This is in Myanmar.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
the United States is like way too big to like, even for something like this to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
it didn't make any sense.
It's.
Well,
I think I know what the main purpose was to do: sow division
right.
and make people think the government doesn't work. So that's really what Republicans always want. But so I hope I hope this is just the first two, and then he gets sued by more people, and there will be. There'll be more cases.
Well, I'll tell you, once the great part about lawsuits is discovery and the process by which people get sued, because then more and more shit gets dragged up. I did hear today that like more people have been subpoenaed in those Trump tax things. So you're right. I guess I'm a little disappointed that there hadn't been a flood of lawsuits.
It's bound to happen. I mean, you see more and more. These guys, they're not. And again, Trump's not on social media.
Yeah.
He might as well not exist.
Yeah, that is real true.
I mean, he's on Fox, and that's great. But at the end of the day, Fox, even if it's millions of people, it's not getting the only thing you can hope is that people will play clips from his Fox interview.
Yeah.
But if he's not saying anything new or interesting, no one gives a shit. The
right.
Twitter thing was great because he could respond to everything. Like, he'd be tweeting about Lil Nas right now. He'd be tweeting about Potato Head's dick. He'd be tweeting about Dr. Seuss.
But think about like what Trump could have moved the needle on is Fox nobody's going to have him on to bitch about Dominion anymore.
No, they don't want to go.
That's not going to happen. So like they if Trump comes on, they're going to be like, well, you can't talk about how the election was stolen from you. Like you can't get into those specifics. And what is he going to do? Talk about like building the wall and shit? Like, no, you never did it. You had 4 years.
Yeah, you didn't do it. And there's evidence that you didn't do shit.
Yeah. So like,
the only thing I could see him do is just try to take claim for like the vaccine.
Right. And that's not like
which he doesn't believe in because he's an anti-vaxxer.
And that's not a real that's not going to catch fire in the right-wing media. Like Trump started this vaccine. Like that's not nobody fucking cares. And it's not true, but like nobody cares.
Right-wing media. It's like it goes against their narrative.
Yeah. So because
then he'd be if you admit the vaccine's working great, then you're admitting COVID was real, and then you're admitting it was a problem because you let it get worse. So by trying to claim success because you're trying to grab whatever, you were literally accepting the blame that COVID was a disaster.
Yeah.
We're in this situation, getting a vaccine for this, waiting in lines or trying to sign up for this thing because of him.
He's like that hot dog guy meme, Like have you seen that meme where the guy shows up in a hot dog costume and
no. It's from a comedy show, but
yeah. It was basically like a Wienermobile like caused a great amount of damage, and the guy, and then later on a guy in a wiener hot dog costume is like, look, we're all trying to find out who did this. Like
I was gonna say when you were talking about like I don't even know. It reminds me of like one of the best scenes is the end of Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
When it's like after credit scene where Jeff Goldblum comes out like rubble and everything, and he's surrounded by guards. He's like, "Hey, good job on the revolution, guys. Now let's just get back to let's get over this and get back to
right." Yeah. So yeah. Well,
wait, you're like the prime reason we had it.
Well, that was I guess that was a little the tidbit we open with is there are people starting to sue Trump. It's hilarious, and I hope we see a lot more of it. But that brings us to our first real topic, Lil Nas. What is that? Old Town Road? Is that the song?
I hate that song. I remember somebody put a tweet out saying, "Thank God Glee wasn't on the air because they would have done a whole episode on that song."
Oh yeah.
And just made it like 100 times worse. I mean, it's whatever. I have no opinion on him. I do admire him now just because of all this.
Yeah.
So, and again, I don't really know anything about him. I'm whatever. I'm not like hip on modern day music.
Yeah, it was I remember when the song came out, it was kind of ubiquitous. It was
It's
everywhere.
not even a new song, right?
Nah, a couple years old. My kid loved it, played it for like the
I was gonna
3
say,
weeks it was
I watched
popular.
the video because
No, she just heard it on like TikTok or something like that. And you know, it came and went, and it was like a one-hit wonder. But yeah, the guy apparently is like a pretty. I mean, he's not what you would expect. I mean, I thought that was going to be like a
when Old Town, whatever that, what's it called?
I think it's Old Town Road. It was with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Known that he's he's a gay black rapper,
Yeah.
and
yes,
and that's that's kind of an out gay black rapper who is very successful, and that's a rarity, especially in the hip hop community, to have like an out gay black guy. Like
the only one I could ever think of that was like Frank Ocean was like another one like a few years before. It's a rarity. It's true.
And the guy is, I would say that he's trying to. It's funny. He's being attacked because of some video he made, and I guess he released some 666 sneakers or something
that apparently has like a drop of his own blood in them or something.
But like they're just modded out Nike, and I guess Nike's pissed. And it's not because Nike's pissed because they don't like what he's doing. It's just like I don't think they like anyone doing what he's doing. Like
right.
It's their brand. It's worth billions of dollars. They've worked a lot of children's in factories for years to get it to where it is. And they don't want Nas or anyone else taking that and reformatting it and selling it as something else. I mean, I get it. They're they got to get those sweatshops going.
Right.
So I guess he has a video though that was timed with it, and it helped him sell the shoes, and the videos.
Yeah.
Considered great trolling on his part. It's like got millions of views. Again, the right wing, all they do is help elevate it. It ends up like helping him really. Right. I guess in the video he goes down a stripper pole, and he fucks Satan or gets fucked by. He rides Satan. He like lap dances on Satan.
Yeah.
And then he
goes down that Old Town Road.
Yeah, and then he kills Satan in the end, takes off his horns, puts on his head, and has like Satan's wings or something in. And it's a cool image. I just thought that was kind of cool in the end. But it's got like, I'm sure anime fans would probably like that ending. But I mean, whatever, who cares?
Right.
It's more fun here how the right wing freaks out over the video, because they've been on this whole, ever since Trump left office, they really don't have a message anymore.
No.
So the message has been cancel culture.
Yeah, that's the big irony here.
But the cancel culture never made any sense, because there was never there was Dr. Seuss, but Dr. Seuss was the company that decided, not whatever they're claiming is the one canceling it. The nefarious they. We talked about this in the podcast before.
Yeah.
I always think that when they mean they, it always leads back to the Jews.
Yeah.
I know that's where they're going. And they were trying to take away Mr. Potato Head's penis and vagina and everything else, and then or Miss Potato Head's vagina. I'm sure they would be very angry if I said Mr. Potato Head. Yeah. I don't want to offend them. They're very sensitive.
This is just such a super easy one to understand. Like, they gripe about cancel culture for 6 weeks. Yeah, for 6 weeks straight. And then along comes Lil Nas, and they want to cancel him. And
they legitimately, not legitimately, they want to cancel him.
And the right wing does it without a hint of self-awareness.
They're trying to bring back Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
Which I was too young in the 80s, but I know about it. And there's like that famous one where those kids went to jail for like half their life.
The Memphis 3. Yeah.
It had nothing to do with, they didn't do anything. It was just they were like metalheads or something.
They're metalheads, yeah.
And there was like lots of Satanic Panic movies back in the day. I remember like watching The Gate and all those movies. I mean, I was too young to like really see the true negative effects, but again, it's just another form of everything that's different in any way is evil. It goes back to McCarthyism.
Yeah.
Where they literally made sure people didn't work, like people couldn't work in Hollywood, couldn't have jobs because
it is a weird one. Like there is a like a satanic bent to this, which is a little unusual because there was the satanic panic of the 80s, and a lot of it centered around heavy metal and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. But there's a huge swath of like daycares that were investigated for satanic rituals. I mean, it's almost comical to look back on it now, but like a lot of people's lives were ruined. Like daycare providers were being accused of being Satanists. I remember like some Department of Defense officials were accused of being Satanists and stuff. It was like a witch trial, just like you said, like a McCarthy era,
or the witch trials.
Yeah,
I mean, and they're trying to do it again. And the thing is, like, it's so stupid. Like, they're just reactionary. Like, they're still talking. Like, the funny thing is, no one's talking about the Cardi B video, but they still are. The WAP video where
I saw some right wingers tweeting about it today.
Eyes a bone for him. That they still bring up, they still bring up the WAP thing. Like months later, even Cardi B's like moved on to something else, and it's like, and then the Old Town. I mean, what is this name of this song? I don't even know.
That's a great question. I have no idea.
Right in that devil's dick. I
don't know.
I bringing up the South Park episode of like Satan having sex with Saddam. Like,
oh yeah. What was it? Lil Nas. I have no idea. Song on Twitter. Not Montero. I'm just kind of scrolling through his. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the name. It
doesn't matter. I just think it just shows you that they're fucking hypocrites and liars. You got like Candace Owens coming out and like attacking Lil Nas, and it's like, listen, at the end of the day, you know, the right wing can shove Candace Owens down her face and everything and try to be like, look, we're young, we're hip, we're cool, we're diverse. Look, we have Candace Owens. Like, at the end of the day, she's just another Phyllis Schlafly.
Yeah.
That's all she is. She's just pushing the same garbage that Phyllis Schlafly pushed. You know, the right wing, they'll shove guys like Tim Pool and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, they're just Pat Robertson.
Yeah.
No, just in different shape, but they're still pushing the same garbage.
It's a real clumsy version of it. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, like, I read in the paper yesterday where like fewer and fewer people are going to church, you know.
Which is why QAnon, I think, got so big, because they, like, when George W. Bush was president and was running in 2004, the one big thing he was able to push for was the evangelical vote.
Yeah.
And the evangelical vote, and George W. Bush was deified, made out to be like Jesus reincarnated. They would post pictures of him with halos behind his head all the time, and he was super religious. He's trying to save your marriage. He's trying to save your way of life. And they could rely on the evangelicals. It was powerful enough, even though they were like, you know, destroying the environment, starting never-ending wars, tax cuts for the super wealthy, actually taking your job and sending it to other countries. Like, that's what the George W. Bush administration did. But the country over the decade later changed. People became less religious, like you just said. And that's where QAnon falls into place.
Yeah. I think it's weird. I think there's a lot of people open to like spirituality and like stuff like that, but like, man, the churches have just like colossally fucked it
organized
up.
religion that I think people are turned off.
They really have done a abysmal job at like justifying their existence.
There's so many corrupt scumbags, and it's become obvious that like you got your guy, what's that one creep who like talking about why he needs a private jet, and
Joel Osteen, or
well, it was that other guy.
That wasn't him. Yeah,
it was this. He looks like a literal ghoul. That guy. He was the one that was like, blowing COVID away.
Yeah, I don't.
Um,
There's just a lot of them. Anyway, this Lil Nas kerfluffle just reminds me of like how meaningless this cancel culture talk from the right is. They don't give a fuck about protect. I mean, you don't see a single one of them coming out saying like, first they came for Lil Nas and I stood up because, like, come on.
First they came for Mr. Potato Head's
right,
big old potato cock. And I said no.
Right. But like, I don't, and I guess the other thing is that they're just so shameless about it. Like they
have nothing anymore to run on because it's like they have no message. All they do is work against the Biden administration anyway. Yeah. They voted against the stimulus. They're going to vote against any bill that is there to help fix the country from decades of damage accelerated by the Trump administration. They're going to stand in the way of all those things or just sit back and be useless. So what they need to do, because they know most people don't pay attention to actual policies.
Yeah.
They pay attention to emotional bullshit like Mr. Potato Head or Dr. Seuss. It's all about nostalgia. It's like a lot of the right, like there's a lot of YouTube shows of like fake geeks, I call them. There's guys like The Quarterin, Nerdrotic, Star Wars Girl, all these like shitbag. They claim they're they claim they're like part of nerd culture, but they're not. They're a bunch of Phyllis Schlafly's also. If you watch their show, they're always trashing any new incarnation, and they claim about it's all about nostalgia.
Yeah,
they claim that like they're taking away Star Wars from you. They're taking away, and all they're really doing is disempowering the viewer.
Yeah,
and putting them down a right-wing rabbit hole. And that QAnon documentary talked about that actually, and everything was Gamergate.
Oh yeah.
Which was used by the right to basically indoctrinate people into people who were not political or not were not formed their politics weren't formed, by taking things like, oh, see those SJWs in the video game industry, they're taking away Metal Gear Solid from you.
Yeah,
they're taking away your video game from you. The thing that you like, the thing that makes you, the thing you look forward to most in the day, they're taking away from you. Come to us. We respect you.
Right.
We care about you. And they use the same shit with nostalgia, where they fired Gina Carano. It's like,
yeah,
it's bullshit. Because again, at the end of the okay, here's a great example. I want to talk about this. One of the biggest right-wing red bait was the new She-Ra series.
Oh yeah.
Because they got there was a woman who made it.
Yep, it was a woman showrunner.
Janes and stuff like that, and she's a lesbian and everything. And she had women with different body types on the show.
Yes.
Portrayed people as more, even though it was like a weird Americanized anime look, but they look at She-Ra now versus what she looked like in the 80s, and it's like, yeah, but that's how most cartoons looked like in the 80s. It was very standard, Hanna-Barbera-esque drawings of how people looked.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a style. But they would create this false dichotomy about what She-Ra was. And I know this sounds really stupid, but it shows you that these people who were oh, she was so feminine. Now girls don't have something to look up to.
Yeah.
But they ignored that the story, the show still followed the same story path. She wasn't a princess. She never was a princess even in the original show. She became one later. I know this is really stupid, but it's
but I get your point. Yeah.
They're playing on nostalgia of something that didn't exist. It's like when they claim that oh, they liked Ripley and Aliens, but they introduced the show now where Ripley, they would be saying it was SJW shit.
Right. Yeah.
They're lying. It's all nostalgia bullshit. And there's videos of evangelical people, a show talking about how evil Sneak Mountain was from He-Man.
Oh yeah.
And I know it sounds really ridiculous, But like now you have these young, hip-looking guys though who claim to be geeks. They have like pictures of action figures behind them and stuff, so they must be on the level. They're doing the same shit that they like churchy guy was doing in the 80s. That the churchy guy wasn't one of you, a geek. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got a new way to do it. So they'll, you know, like I said, they'll get like a Candace Owens to trash Lil Nas, but it's like, we know what she is. She's Phil Schlafly. It's not going to work.
It's a tired playbook.
And all it does is benefit Lil Nas. He sold out all the sneakers.
Yeah.
We're talking about him.
Yep.
I don't like that song. The old.
Yeah, he's not an artist I particularly care for musically. I think he's kind of a interesting artist. Like,
I mean, it's fine. I don't have an opinion on it, but we're talking about it because the right wing reacted to it, and he played them like a fucking fiddle. Yeah. The best was though, he tweets and responds to these people.
Yeah. So
he got into like a Twitter battle with. Do you know a girl named Caitlyn Bennett?
Oh yeah, the girl who shit her pants for guns.
Yeah, well, not for guns. She just shit her pants at a party. But she's the one who's like showed up with like an AR-15.
Yeah,
she's just again. I think she's just a failed theater girl. Like she's someone who, like, you know, wanted to like get into acting, is just not very talented. Sure. She's like was probably always in all the school plays, but never like she'd get like 2 or 3 lines.
Yeah,
play, but never the lead. You know. And a lot of these right-wing people in media tend to be like, you find out like Ben Shapiro is like a failed Hollywood writer. I'll show them how crazy the movie industry with Gina Carano. And she got into like some fight with, well, not a fight, she was just saying shit, and Lil Nas basically said he was gonna fuck her dad.
I'm gonna fuck your dad.
And I think I tweeted out something. I said that. Oh, she said something about her dad and everything. I said, I don't think your dad would refuse.
Yeah. Your this is somewhat off topic, but your impression of Ben Shapiro I saw something on Twitter today where some guy said Ben Shapiro sounds like a racist kazoo. Like, which is like super accurate. It's like,
I mean, it's all he's awful.
Well, speaking of awful,
again, I hope Lil Nas keeps it up because he's
fun.
He doesn't give a fuck, and that's good when you don't give a fuck. And I think at the end of the day, it just makes him look better. In the end of the day, and he's exposing the right wing for basically like, if they bring up cancel culture, you could just say, well, what about you trying to like cancel Cardi B or Lil Nas or like another artist? I mean, wouldn't that be?
Well, that's it. That, you know, I mean,
say like, oh, we're trying to stop the devil, and it's like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, the one thing, and this is my last comment on Lil Nas. I saw one, like a tweet he put out the other day, said, and I'm very much paraphrasing it, but he said, like, you know, to all the people that are pissed off, like, this is how I felt like when you were making me feel like shit for being who I am as a kid, you know, and I hope you stay this man. And I was like, you know, good for him. I mean, this is like, I don't know, he's like a lot of the things. Like I said, I don't love his music necessarily, but he's a lot of the things I kind of respect in artists, in that he's like, you know, super transgressive, and he's kind of bold and thought-provoking. And
I would say that he's a positive role model for LGBTQ kids.
Yeah, well, he's certainly not. I mean, like, the one thing I always tell my kid in much more polite terms, I tell her this, but it's like, don't take shit from these people. You know, like, you don't for a minute give these people an ounce of power over you. And he kind of embodies that, which certainly makes him a great role model in that sense.
He is in a different position.
Yeah.
So. I mean, but good on him. That, you know, because there's people, even when they get to a certain level, they always feel like they can never like say anything or do anything, and, you know, scared of like they'll lose their queer fans, whatever. And I myself, like, listen, I've run into shit with people online, on Instagram, with my political opinions and stuff. I've supposedly I've lost. They were telling you, okay, So this was my favorite. And it's actually really funny because it has to do with a Satan drawing.
Okay.
I have a print. It's like Baphomet in a box, and it's in reaction.
Yeah.
Like the church trying to put up like 10 Commandments and Baphomet statue. So I came up with this print, and it was like Baphomet in a box, and it's like you crack it open when like overreach on the lines between religion and state are blurred. Then you bring out the Baphomet in a box to shut them up because hey, that way I could put this here because it's part of my religion too, or whatever. Not my religion, but and there was like, I put out and it's kind of funny. I made a meme one time of Dave Chappelle when he was making these like really lame trans jokes.
They were lazy.
Just lazy. Yeah, lazy. Like, come on, Dave. You're supposed to be like one of the funniest people in the world.
Right. And this is the kind of joke you hear like in, 9th grade, 1986.
It's like, it reminded me of like when I went to see Gallagher and he was like, I know that sounds funny. I think I've talked about this before. I actually did go see Gallagher.
Yeah.
We thought it'd be funny just to go there. The joke
was on you.
Was on us. I will say Gallagher the tickets came out to like over $50, I think. And Gallagher destroyed, I think, close to $35 worth of produce.
Sure.
So I guess I got somewhat of my value. All right. So I made a person got into a fight with me because, and I don't know what direction they were going in, but I was calling out Dave Chappelle for his lame ass joke. And then I was making fun of people who were defending him. And I said, I made a meme or something like that. I said, can't a multimillionaire get $6 million to basically attack trans people without any repercussion whatsoever?
Right.
And then I had like Ben Shapiro in a corner, like laughing, like
I
was like, I only can like ejaculate when I dead name somebody on Twitter. And I got like a lot of shit for it. A lot. I lost hundreds, if not thousands, of followers from that.
Oh, wow.
I got into a fight I didn't get into a fight because I don't know what this conversation was. Someone DM'd me.
Okay.
And it made no sense because he would, I don't even know where this was going. I don't know what, I don't even know where his conversation was. It seemed like he was trying to set me up for traps or whatever.
Okay.
And I said, Dave Chappelle should do better. Dave Chappelle, in the end of the day, back in the day, left his show because he got like, I don't know, like conversation with like Oprah and hire people like black people and like telling him like basically, you got a bunch of little white kids now saying the N-word and I'm rich bitch and all this shit.
Right.
And just maybe you should do better for your community or whatever. I don't know 100%.
But yeah, I remember that being the story.
But he ended up like basically flaking out. The third season was like 3 or 4 episodes barely.
Yeah.
He like fled the country, went to like Africa or something like that, left comedy for years, didn't do anything. Came back, and then he gets a deal with Netflix, and he just makes these like really awful like trans jokes. So I found it really hypocritical on his part. You should like look outward. It's not just about you. Like you were coming from a position of saying that like my community is being like assaulted, and I don't want to. I don't want to feed into a certain perspective that people have of my community. But now I'm going to come back, make a ton of money from Netflix, and make bad jokes about not even bad, like just punching down, like you said, lazy writing.
Yeah.
And again, he has every right to do that, but I can have every right to say that he's a shithead.
Right.
That's how it works. He can say it, and I can say that he sucks, and other people can say he sucks too. So people got really mad at me, and I was canceled by people.
Yeah.
And like I said, a guy was having a conversation with me. I don't know what it was or anything like that, but he mailed. I guess he bought the original art for me.
Okay.
Of the Baphomet drawing. Mailed it back to me. Wrote me a weird letter. I don't know if I held on to it. about how it was. Well, one, I don't know why he thought I was a Satanist.
Okay.
Which was weird. I never said I was a Satanist.
Yeah.
I'm not anything.
Right.
I'm whatever the fuck I want to be. I'll draw Satan if I want to. I'll draw Jesus. I don't care. Right. If I want to, I'll do that.
You can draw Alf. It doesn't mean you're a Malmachian.
Well, actually, believe it or not, this is where you are wrong. Willie.
I know for a fact you have more than 4 teeth. I know for a fact.
Yes, but hold on a second. Here we go. Oh, I just have 4 giant nubs. In here eating pussy. Pussy cats. That's what Alf does. He loves pussy.
That's true. That's true.
Get that pussy in my mouth. It was like NBC, the NBC censors had to come in back in the 80s and say, you listen, we get that Alf likes to eat cats.
We're going to tone this way the fuck down. We're going to tone
what?
We're going to tone this way the fuck down.
That's what this refer to them as cats. Maybe even felines.
Yeah.
Don't say the word pussy. Now, is that cancel culture?
Yeah. Who's to say?
So he sent me back the drawing and wrote me this weird letter. And I don't even understand. Wait, so I'm not a Satanist because I said that Dave Chappelle was an asshole for making lame jokes about marginalized people. I don't think you know what a Satanist is.
Yeah.
They would a real Satanist would probably well, I don't know what exactly a real Satanist is. But Satanism is not like like sacrificing and drinking blood. Yeah. Supposedly, like it's kind of like live your life and don't be a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's basically like just do, as long as you're not hurting anyone, do what you want.
It's supposed to be like
in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, and it's also supposed to be like a abstraction or like a reaction to Christianity.
Yeah,
and its hypocrisies that established religion has. And I didn't know where he was coming from, but like that's why I found it funny with the devil thing. So I had the drawing. I never resold it. I don't know. It just sits in a box. It's really weird. I found it really bizarre. I never refunded him. I'm never going to.
Yeah.
I didn't ask him to send it back to me.
Right.
And it was so weird. It was the weirdest. And again, I was like, wait, why do you sound more like Candace Owens though?
Yeah.
But in his like weird twisted mind or something, I'm trying to restrict somebody from being a bigot. But I wasn't restricting him. I'm calling him out on it. There's a huge difference. That's where the cancel culture bullshit comes from.
Yeah.
They scream cancel culture. Like if I call out someone for being a bigot, that's not cancel. I'm not trying to cancel them.
No.
I'm trying to just bring attention to the fact that that person is a bigot. And if there's a retaliation because of that, that is a different story. But I'm not canceling.
Right.
They are trying to cancel Lil Nas.
Oh, for sure.
If the way the music industry works today, I don't think they could if they wanted to.
No. And you can't, I mean, like once ideas get out there, I mean, like a lot of that shit just kind of gets, I mean, it's an overused expression, but just becomes viral. It just bounces around place to place. I mean, it's the whole cancel culture is more designed about calling attention to themselves than it is about any real effort to cancel what they're trying to cancel. Like most of them, they never gave a fuck if Colin Kaepernick played football or didn't play football. They just wanted to call attention to themselves for bitching about Colin Kaepernick. You know,
they also wanted to claim uber patriotism.
Yeah, but they don't really ultimately care. No, as long as they get their attention. And
people that's demanded that people kneel during had no problem destroying the Capitol.
Yeah. So I don't know.
All right. So what's the next thing?
Oh, Matt Gaetz. Yeah, Matt Gaetz.
Speaking of,
this is a weird one. Matt Gaetz. I don't even know like where to begin with this. Like here's where I'll begin. Matt Gaetz is under investigation for having a physical relationship with a 17-year-old and transporting her across state lines. And this actually, here's where the investigation started. Do you know where the investigation started?
No. Oh, the DOJ with Bill Barr.
Yeah, but like, but that wasn't it. It was Matt Gaetz is being investigated because some other Florida Republican politician, is super being investigated for sex with underage girls, and he was like the registrar. He was some local official, and he would create fake IDs for these girls and transport them across state lines with him. And that way they could like drink in clubs and they could check into hotel rooms and stuff like that, because he used his official GOP position to manufacture fake IDs for them. As they were investigating this guy, they found something, nobody knows what, that implicated Matt Gaetz in all of this. So theoretically, Matt Gaetz probably had a fake ID manufactured for this girl, if this really happened, and she used that to check into a hotel in another state, which is why the FBI is investigating him.
And that other state, because I started seeing people, the right, they always got to find a way to defend people, like when Ted Cruz tried fleeing the country or flee as the state of Texas during the freeze, they would say,
right,
what do you expect him to do? And then the right wing, one of the most disgusting right wingers out there is this guy named Nick Fuentes, who's a literal Nazi.
Yes, he's what is he, Proud Boy?
No, Graper or some bullshit. I don't know what the fuck. He's basically a Nazi.
Yeah.
He blocked me on Twitter because he tweeted something about how he misses Trump so badly, and
I remember that.
I called him a weird nose picking, not because he picks his nose or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
And a nose picking dwarf who I forgot what I said, but I posted the Nazi from the first Producers movie from the 60s. The one, you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
They the whole plot is they need to get the worst play, so they find this guy who's an actual Nazi.
Yep, Gene Wilder and Zero Mostel is a great one.
Yeah, and he's longing for Hitler.
Yeah.
And so I posted that GIF with him, and I said, "This is you, fucking weirdo," and he blocked me or something. But
Well, this guy Joel Greenberg was the name of the GOP, and he was a tax collector.
Well, hold on. Before
Oh, I'm sorry.
Was Matt Gaetz? What's the big deal? What 17? What's the big deal? And the big deal is that Matt Gaetz is. I mean, the guy might have a point because a lot of states in this country, 17 is okay. Still gross, depending on your age.
Yeah.
If you're 18 or 19 or whatever. But if you're 38,
right?
That's a different story. And it's also a bigger problem when you're doing it in a state where it's 18.
Yeah.
And
that's called rape.
Go ahead.
That's rape. Yeah. So that is.
So sorry, you little nose picking Nazi piece of shit. Not you. You're not.
Yeah. No, I followed you.
I hope so. Hey, wait.
It's bizarre. Okay, so this Joel Greenberg got arrested. He was a young guy, GOP tax collector, and he was using his access to tax records and ID making stuff, and he would transport these girls across state lines. And he used to brag about how he was best friends with Matt Gaetz, or Gaetz. And anyways, it turns out that's how Matt got swept up into this investigation. And it looks really bad for him. Like you said, I mean, this is a pretty cut and dried thing. You can't make fake IDs. That's not okay.
Well, see, I didn't even know that part. So that's illegal.
Yeah. You can't transport minors across state lines.
It's weird because didn't he vote a couple of years ago again? One of the only people.
He was the only vote against a child trafficking law.
He's like, I'm in the middle of trafficking some children as we speak. I'd be a huge hypocrite if I voted against it.
He said that his constituents didn't send him to Washington to make more laws. Right. And the weirdest part is, and here's the thing, and I can't believe that this hasn't been commented upon more often. This is the guy who recently said he had an adopted son who A, is no longer a minor, B, is not adopted, C, is not his son, and D, who has a living father, biological father. Like, none of this shit makes any sense, this Nestor thing, like...
Oh yeah, okay, so the Nestor thing was from like a year or two ago.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Pre-COVID,
that nobody... You can't adopt an adult?
Okay, so it started out with this whole bizarre thing where... what's his name? He's a congressman from California. He ran Swalwell. The right wing
Swalwell
to this day tries to claim that he's a Chinese spy, which is
right.
Like everything about it is complete nonsense. It's like just imagine the Ben Garrison drawing that was made for that.
Yeah,
like literally like a dragon lady.
Yeah,
like seducing Swalwell. Like just writes itself. So Swalwell like was talking about something, and he accused something about, I don't know if he accused Matt Gaetz of being a racist or whatever it is, but it made Matt Gaetz get really heartfelt in the worst.
He got the feels.
Possible,
yep.
And claimed that he has a son who is a minority.
Right.
He's Cuban or whatever. His name is Nestor. And it got really weird when like the first picture that floated around was Matt Gaetz and this like large adult next to him.
Yeah.
Matt Gaetz being only like at the time in his mid-30s. And then here's this full
dude who's like 24 or something.
No, he was like much younger. And the image looks like Night at the Roxbury.
Yeah.
And so it's
just
like all
like
these times weird.
It makes no sense,
And
like
it's like, wait, how's he have a kid? Then I think it was found out that Nestor was like his almost like he's the brother of a woman he dated.
Something like that.
And I guess they broke up or whatever, but like kept
Nestor
around.
Yeah, Matt kept her brother.
And then, I'm gonna keep your brother. and like he there's this weird video that's floating around of him where he's talking and Nestor's just like in the background.
Yeah.
It looks like everything just looked like something out of Arrested Development. Like
it did.
It was Steve Holt and Gob.
There. It was just so bizarre. And like, okay, so all of that was
weird. He referred to him as the help in the video. He called him his helper.
Right.
That is fun.
And then now you have like pretty credible evidence or allegations that he's like traveling across state lines with a 17-year-old. This guy also has like 5 DUI arrests. There's mug shots of him everywhere. It's just like so crazy that, and this guy won his district by 30 points. 30 fucking points.
It's a gerrymandering. It's like how Marjorie Taylor Greene wins.
Yeah. It's just so bizarre. And anyway, all that happened. And then Matt, I know you said you weren't going to watch it. I didn't watch it live, but I watched some clips on Twitter of the Tucker Carlson. And
I didn't watch it, but go ahead.
Matt gets out there and he says, like, this sucks, Tucker. Me and you have been accused of.
He basically threw Tucker Carlson under the bus by saying this stuff, and Tucker Carlson made his classic face.
But at the end, Tucker Carlson's like, yeah, you're referring to an incident that happened to me 20 years ago where a mentally ill woman I had never met accused me of something, and it was cleared up in like 3 minutes. So like that's a little different than
Tucker. You and me, buddy, we're the same.
But then he said that Tucker and his wife went out to dinner with Matt Gaetz and this girl. Like
somebody tweeted about that and said that if my husband had me go out to dinner with somebody who one of his friends, and his friends brought a 17-year-old girl. I would never forget that day.
Yeah.
Like that day would just live in my mind
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. Like I like
grown adults, not like it's funny because it makes me think of the movie Manhattan.
Yeah.
Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Woody Allen with the what's her face? I forgot. She's like 17 in the movie or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I look. I know that some 17-year-olds can look older, and sure. However, 17-year-olds can't look and act older for an extended period of time. I don't think, I mean, like maybe if you're drunk or whatever, but like, sadly for Matt, getting pounded isn't like a successful defense.
I tweeted a bunch of things. I said Tucker Carlson on the phone with his lawyer for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just because of that implication.
Yeah.
Matthew Gaetz and Naomi Klein attending a support group for people who have similar names to shitbags.
Yeah.
Matthew Gaetz is like a reporter. And
that poor guy.
It's like a scrolling. I'm not him. I'm not Matt.
Wrong guy. Wrong guy.
Let's see.
There's a couple Jeffrey Epsteins too.
My favorite is from like 5 days ago on March 25th. Elon Musk tweets, "If there is ever a scandal about me, please call it Elon Gate."
Yeah, that's pretty funny, actually.
And then Matt Gaetz wrote, "Deal. I want Gates. And I tweeted a SpongeBob thing 4 to 6 more days later.
Yeah.
I said, all the people that posted incessantly about a Netflix movie are suspiciously quiet about Matt Pizza.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, he could be really fucked here. I mean, like.
Well, that morning, before this came out, he was like announcing that he's thinking of resigning and go work for
Newsmax,
which I think is hysterical because I've said this from day one. The first day I talked about him with you on this podcast, I said Matt Gaetz seems like a guy who's not a serious politician,
right?
And he's real. What he really wants to do is to basically host a show on Fox.
Go work for Fox or something.
Yeah, and I think that's always been his angle. I don't think he really gives a shit about governing.
Yeah, I doubt it.
It's just to make his brand look good or whatever you want to call it in a right-wing circle.
Yeah.
In right-wing media. And he wants to be like the next Sean Hannity. But that seemed to come, most politicians when they say that, they think about leaving and stuff, something comes out. Like they're trying to distract, it's like when Mitch McConnell claimed he might not even finish his term, but then it comes out about his wife, like a bunch of corrupt shit from his wife during the Trump administration. And it's like, oh, were you always going to say you were going to resign? Or is this just good timing on your part?
Yeah, this seems super designed.
So he knew that shit was going to come out about this.
Yeah.
What else? Ted Cruz in the Senate giving a 45-minute passionate speech about he wished Matt Gaetz would date his daughters.
Yeah. Well, I think he's kind of fucked. I mean, like, who knows? I mean, he could turn out to be innocent. Nobody knows for sure.
He was talking about like his dad or something was on a wire or something, something illegal FBI stuff against him.
And the FBI's come out since and been like, this is not. No. Plus, Matt Gaetz himself said that he was a subject. He's being investigated for fucking a minor and for taking that minor across state lines.
I retweeted an alt tweet I'd said back in June 20th. So I guess that it was during COVID when the whole Nestor thing came out. But you wouldn't know because Matt Gaetz is an anti-masker.
Right.
Here I wrote, and I knew Matt was a congressman, but I didn't know he was also a groomer.
Yeah.
Not talking about dog.
Yeah.
I said Matt Gaetz is always stealing Nestor's girlfriends. Somebody actually, I think it was Ward Sutton or something. He's an artist on Twitter and stuff, and he actually wrote. He says, Well, now you know why he keeps Nesta around. Nesta probably brings girls home for him.
Yeah. Well,
and the fucked up thing is all kinds. And again, he has not been implicated yet, or
he's not been charged.
Hasn't been charged yet, and this is still being investigated.
Yep.
I'm making jokes.
Yes.
Joseph's making jokes. Matt Gaetz, though, I can confirm I can confirm without a doubt that Matt Gaetz is a fucking asshole.
Oh yeah.
That is without a doubt. There is no argument in the world that can be made to say that he is not. He is a disingenuous asshole.
Well, even his colleagues, I read an article today where most Republicans say like the guy's just mean spirited. He's a jerk, you know, and
sounds like he's literally Biff Tannen if he was in Biff from Back to the Future if he was in Congress.
Yeah, and it's not that's tough. That's tough, you know. Like you need people on your side during times like this, and he hasn't built up that. Well, Trump's not going to come out and defend him.
I think the Republicans will distance themselves from him, regardless if he was well loved or not. I think.
Well, it was weird to see Jim Jordan come out and is not weird, I suppose, but like.
Well, his is the least predictable. I mean, they team up like Jim Jordan and especially during the impeachment, like him and Matt Gaetz would get interviewed together in defending Trump. Like they're like some weird team. Yeah, but
I always thought it was weird that they'd interview him at a Chuck E. Cheese, though. You know, like
Jim Jordan being interviewed live from a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit.
Yeah.
And by ball pit, it's
yeah.
Hold on, I have another one. Oh yeah, there was these like old tweets that people were resurfacing. And like him with like good lunch table at the Pace High School today. And it's Matt, like all these like high school girls, you know, they're like whatever, it's like high school kids. Like I saw them. If Matt Gaetz brought one of these kids to dinner, I would say, gee, Matt, is that your little cousin?
Yeah.
Is that your kid's sister?
It's just weird. It's weird, you know.
But I said that these tweets are like the Zapruder film.
They are. People are going to be. I'll bet you. I guarantee you, people are figuring out who these kids are, and they're like going on social media, and they're like, "Oh, this is weird. Here's a picture of this girl in Atlanta. Oh, Matt Gaetz was in Atlanta that weekend. It's Zapruder film."
Yeah, that's why I was making a joke about it, but it's it's real. And there's lots of photos of him where he's just very attentive to girls' high school sports.
Yeah, right.
And you know, again, he's a full-grown adult. Listen, like I said, more of this is going to come. Again, it's funny to laugh about it because he's a piece of shit.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
But this isn't.
It's not funny. I know what you're saying.
Well, like, him, it's very funny.
It's like, funny that he's going down for something like this, but like, it's not funny for a 38-year-old to take advantage of a 17-year-old. Like that is kind of like a shit.
Even if he was 35 or 30,
Most states have like a Romeo law where like if you're 19 and you're hooked up with a 17-year-old, it's not technically a crime, even though it's like if you're only. So,
it's funny you brought that up. I never heard of that before until.
Yeah.
What movie did you think I learned about the Romeo law?
Oh,
Romeo and Juliet law. Like, what kind of movie do you think I would learn that from? No, just throw a movie out, and I'll give you an answer.
All right. Was it a Tom Cruise movie?
No.
Was
Transformers 4.
Oh shit! Okay.
So in the movie, you're introduced to Mark Wahlberg.
All right.
Now the new hero of the Transformers series, Shia LaBeouf, has moved on.
Yes. And
he has a teenage daughter and a son and a boyfriend, and he just does not approve of. The boyfriend is not in high school. She is.
Okay.
Then this boyfriend There's a scene where the boyfriend explains the Romeo and Juliet law.
Nice.
Why it's okay. Because like you just said, at one point he was 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But why was this in Transformers 4?
That's an interesting question. I will say that, yeah, the law itself makes sense because like it makes sense for people under 17 to be considered minors, and it makes sense for people over 18 to be considered adults, and it makes sense for there to be laws where adults can't have sex with minors. But there is that gray area, and I think I forget the legal definition.
But
it's
why
like,
was it in the movie Transformers 4?
You're still under warranty, Bumblebee.
What?
You're still under warranty, Bumblebee. You're still.
You grab onto my shaft. Like, now listen here, Bumblebee. Get into my cockpit.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, that is an odd one to be in there, but yeah,
this was the movie that I went to see it. I think like we got free tickets at my last job. I was working at an event, and I was like, "Hey, this is the first time we get to meet the Dinobots."
Right.
And I know these movies are terrible, but it'll be interesting to watch. It's gonna be a lot of mecha action and boom and bust and all that stuff. But the thing I didn't think I was gonna learn was what the Romeo and Juliet was.
Well, my new show regarding
it was all rape. It was weird. It was like all things that maybe what's the director of those movies? I forgot his name. He makes like all.
Is it Michael Bay?
Yeah, like it's all like little breadcrumbs. Michael Bay's like he's just trying to defend whatever allegation's going to come out against him. Like, if I teach my audience in Transformers 4, they'll accept all the allegations going to come out against them.
It does make sense. Like, I mean, there's probably plenty of 18-year-olds dating 17-year-olds.
It was probably, this is what I know this is stupid and I'm not going to focus on Transformers 4 anymore, even though I find that really funny. And it was weird. The guy who was dating the daughter, his name was Matt Gaetz also.
Well,
no, but I think they probably were dating, and then they were like going over the movie, and like someone was like, "We're gonna have to put this line in there because people are gonna be, why is this older man dating a high school student?"
Yeah, maybe they retconned.
And that guy did not look like he was 19.
Well, it is. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think this looks super bad for Matt Gaetz.
You think he'll resign over this?
I don't know. Like, if the problem is if he's under criminal investigation, if he resigns, then he looks guilty. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing he has going for him is to not resign, because then
Republicans only resign when it's like gay stuff.
Yeah,
I know that sounds like I wish there was a better way to say it.
No, that's a joke. They used to say it was
or if it's hitting on younger people, if it's boys and not girls.
Yeah, they say the only thing that will make a Republican politician resign is a dead girl or a live boy. Like,
there's probably wiggle room with the dead girl.
Yeah, if they kill a girl, they probably have to resign. And if they're found with a dead girl, dead woman, or a live boy, they got to resign.
Yeah, Mark Foley resigned.
Yeah,
because he was hitting on young male interns.
Right.
Dennis Hassett resigned because he was like, oh God, I think it was like
Congressional Pages. Yeah,
it was worse than that. Yeah, I think he went to jail.
Oh no, he wasn't Congressional Pages. It was
I think he was like a gym teacher.
Yeah,
it was like a Jim Jordan. It was like a Jim Jordan was hiding for Dennis Hassett.
The Florida guy was Mark Foley.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the one with the pages. And then the other was that Republican senator who resigned, the one with the wide stance.
Wide stance, yeah.
The guy who like glory holes in airport bathrooms.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it looks bad for him. I don't think he'll resign. I don't think he'll resign because there's no advantage to him resigning. I think if he stays in office, he can fundraise, he can look innocent. It makes no sense for him to resign. He should morally or ethically.
Well, I could just see the right wing, because the way they operate, that like they'll just be like, they'll just say 17, big deal. They'll just start saying shit like that. They'll start like,
oh, I saw a bunch of tweets like that today.
Yeah, I told you there was that Nick Fuentes guy who said like 17, big deal. And it's like, well, again, it is a big deal because the state that he was in, it's not 17.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a crime now.
Right.
And it's also, regardless, it's still gross.
Yeah. Especially at his age. I mean, if he were like 24 and it was a 17-year-old, still illegal, still squicky and wrong. But like, at least then you're like, okay, I'll listen to your bullshit defense. I'm not going to tolerate it too much, but like,
it's the what's his face character from Dazed and Confused, the defense.
The Matthew.
They just stay the same.
Right. Well, I always say, and I've said this for a long time, it's half plus 7, and and that's it. So how old's Matt Gaetz? Let me see. I'll tell you if this is a crime or not. Let me get up my calculator.
Oh God.
How old is Matt Gaetz? Do you know?
Well, he's 38 now, but let's just say he was 35. I guess it's half.
35. Oh shit! Is this 35 divided by 2 equals plus 7? No, he would need to date a 24-and-a-half-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So clearly guilty.
Yeah, all right, good. Judge Wapner over here.
Right. But that's my point, is like a 24-year-old dating a 17-year-old, it would be wrong and a crime and everything. But
it's not the same thing as a congressman who's in his 30s.
It's just different.
It's very different.
Your Honor, half plus 7.
Regardless. And he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I get to see right-wingers wearing shirts like, I want Matt Gaetz to date my Jordan. Right. Like, they would, because there were people showing up at Trump rallies after the video came out.
Oh, yeah, Trump
saying, grab her by the pussy. They were women Trump supporters wearing shirts saying, like, you can grab my pussy.
Yeah, remarkable.
Which I could imagine Trump would look at them and be like, ew. She's a 2.
Yeah.
A total 2.
Yeah. Sad but true. Well,
sad but true.
Yeah. I guess I don't have like a ton more to say about friggin' Matt Gaetz.
I mean, listen, I only hope the worst for him. That's all I could say.
Yeah. He 100% deserves the worst. And again, he may get it.
It's just that he voted against a child trafficking law, the only one. Usually, so there's these like things that usually have a universal bipartisan type voting.
Yeah,
everyone's like, yeah, I'm gonna vote for this because I'm not a monster,
right,
or I'm not a complete monster, and that'd be one of them.
Yeah.
Matt Gaetz is like, they didn't send me there to protect your children.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on from Matt Gaetz. The next one's kind of an odd one. I originally thought that I had like a ton to say about it, but like the more I thought about it throughout the day, I was like, it's not a terribly complicated issue, even though it has a few moving parts. And that is the recent anti-voter legislation passed in Georgia and signed off on by, what's that guy's name? Brian Kemp?
Brian Kemp.
He's the governor.
The guy who basically stole the election from
Stacey Abrams.
He did, because he made sure 300,000 people couldn't vote, and he only won by 50,000 people in Georgia.
And Stacey Abrams said, and I don't have the exact quote here, but she said after Brian Kemp stole that election, she said something like, by striking me down, you will only make me stronger. And then she came back, much like Obi-Wan did as a Force ghost, and got 2 senators elected in Georgia.
Yeah, again, I always thought that line from Star Wars was greatly exaggerated. Don't know what Obi-Wan actually did. Obi-Wan's like, strike me down, Darth, and it'll make me more powerful than ever. And it's like, Did he though? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
right.
yeah, he comes back as like a voice. Oh, hold on, you opened up the Star Wars gate.
Yeah. Well, so he signed it.
You're like, I'm moving on.
I'm moving on. And he did, like, after they signed it, a couple things happened. They signed it in, not in secret, but in private. They didn't want cameras there.
Of course,
And right, and a Georgia state legislator was arrested. A black woman was trying to get in to see what was going on, and the police arrested her and roughed her up. And then there's a secret memo from Delta that got released that kind of seemed like they were supportive of this.
Really?
Yeah, it was the Delta. It was an internal memo, and it got released to. I want to say it got released to that kind of that fake.
Probably benefit from Republicans staying in power.
And then a lot of people started looking at the corporate donations, and they're like, you know what? Coca-Cola and Delta and all these places were donating to the Republicans even recently after the January 6th riots.
Oh, you mean these companies that claim they weren't going to donate?
Yep. And so people started to get like a little angry about it. And then pretty quickly, the director of the new Indiana Jones movie said, I ain't going to film in Georgia. And they were slated to film in Georgia. And
yeah, because all Disney and Lucas film most of their stuff, especially Marvel and everything, is filmed in Georgia. The studios are there.
Yeah, WandaVision, parts of that were filmed in Georgia. Falcon and Winter Soldier, parts are filmed in Georgia. So Walking Dead's filmed in Georgia.
Yeah, all these
so a lot, and then a hashtag that said no more filming in Georgia started circulating. And then today, the CEOs of Coca-Cola and Delta came out and said this new law is unacceptable. So there's been a change, you know.
Well, they don't want to look bad. Like you said, it was in secret and it went out. But why would anybody these days should know better?
Yeah.
Nothing stays secret anymore.
Well,
everything will come out in some way, in some form, somehow.
It used to be enough that, and this wasn't even that long ago, like a Coca-Cola could come out and say, look, we're not political. You know, we donate to members of both parties. We want both Republicans and Democrats to enjoy Coca-Cola. That doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore that.
Well, because you have like Republicans trying to do all these draconian shit. Like Joe Biden referred to it, you know, they're saying it's not Jim Crow, this is Jim Eagle. Yeah. It's like 20 times worse what they're trying to do. I mean, basically, they stole the election in 2018.
Yep.
Making sure Stacey Abrams didn't win. I mean, like the fact that Brian Kemp was like in charge, he's running for governor,
and he was in charge of the election.
Which is insane. That's like,
what the.
That is like just you can't tell me that that's not corrupt.
Right.
Like, of course it is. And if you're saying that's not a big deal, then obviously I know which side you're on.
Well,
it shouldn't even be a partisan thing to go, oh yeah, that is a little corrupt. That the guy running for governor happens to be in charge of like voting.
Well, I think that the Jim Crow thing is kind of apt, but like even more than that, like this is a lot of these Republican states are they're confederacies. You know, these are they want to take away people's votes. They are using the legal system to harass persons of color. It is an orchestrated, systemic effort to deny people the right to vote.
Right, and it's also a reaction to the senatorial race in Georgia and Georgia going to Biden. So they're like, how do we prevent that from happening?
They want fewer people voting.
Well, I don't know, maybe we like transform the party and make it more attractive to get more people to vote for us. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. No.
They're making it as hard as possible for young people and persons of color to vote.
It's easier to get a gun in this country than it is in most states in this country than it is to vote.
And this is, and I really mean this because like I was talking to some guy today and we were talking about the George Floyd. I know you're not supposed to call it the George Floyd trial, but we're talking about the trial of Chauvin.
He's not on trial. He's dead.
Right. We were talking about that trial. and we were talking about a few other things. And as we were talking, I'm like, the biggest issue, and I'm not downplaying the death of George Floyd, and I'm not downplaying the strike against transgender rights in Arkansas. I'm not diminishing any of those, but the right to vote is the fundamental battle. That it just is, because most people are cool with transgender persons. Most people are. Not all of them, but reliably 60 to 70% of the people in America are fine with transgendered persons.
It's not an issue to them.
Right. And most people want easier access to voting. And most people want rich people to pay more taxes. And most people want legalized marijuana. And most people want all this shit, and striking at the right to vote prevents that.
Right, exactly. It's basically, and that's why I said, protesting this is not that simple, because, it's like the bathroom ban. That was bullshit designed to get people revved up to vote for Republicans, right?
Right.
And create a controversy that didn't exist. But you can protest that and everything like that, because that's just right-wing nonsense.
Right.
And just straight up bigotry. This is different, because this is the people in power coming up with a way to stay in power, and they're not going to give it up easily. And the way they lose is by voting. So if they restrict you from voting, they stay in power. And to just simply protest this is not enough. You can't just get out you can get out on the streets and get all the attention you want. And the real thing is, you got to starve the economy of Georgia. Yeah. And I know, so I when the guy from the guy who's directing the new Indiana Jones said that he wasn't going to film the movie now there because of that until this is gone, I said, I'm like, good. Good. And then some asshole wrote this thing and said, well, this isn't good. It just hurts the people of Georgia. And I'm like, well, then
I get that.
Vote out. Well, I'm like, then vote out Brian Kemp.
Yeah.
This was a white person that said it was bullshit. And I said, well, then vote Brian Kemp out. I'm like, if you are being threatened by if Brian Kemp is putting in draconian bullshit that is turning off businesses from doing business in the state you live in, costing you a job, then this is Brian Kemp's fault. Vote him out. Why does it have to be left up to just Black people, minority, Black women? Why does it have to always be up to them to be the ones that vote out shitty white men in the Republican Party? Why does it always have to be that? Why, fucking step up and you vote out Brian Kemp.
Yeah, this is easy. Brian Kemp's a piece of shit.
Sick of that bullshit of that it is up to I don't want Black people to be denied the right to vote. I want anyone to be denied the right to vote. But if there's a situation that's in there, then you step up and you get rid of Brian Kemp and the GOP, because he is affecting you and your livelihood now, because companies don't want to be associated with a bigot, because the companies want to sell things to everyone. And a lot of people that work for companies, especially on the creative end, like the director of Indiana Jones, tend to be more progressive, more open-minded, because the art community tends to be that way usually. Not always, but usually. So it pissed me off. I was like, fuck, you vote out Brian Kemp. The ones that are not affected by the draconian bullshit now, they should be the ones that have to vote Brian Kemp.
Well, that's the thing, is sometimes that's the only way people are going to get it, is that previously there would be a restaurant owner or something that's like, well, I want everyone to, but I'm going to vote for Kemp because of my taxes or whatever. You don't get that luxury anymore. You really have to bring the pain economically and shut a lot of shit down and say, nothing's going to happen here anymore. Nobody wants to do businesses in this shithole, because you're turning it into a plantation state.
You're making it backwards. The thing is, now these companies, you can't, right wingers like Ben Shapiro and all that stuff, they'll say liberal Hollywood. It ain't that liberal. They came to Georgia to pay people less. That's why they opened up a studio in Georgia. They might be right leaning on a economic, but they're definitely on a socially surface level, liberal progressives, and they don't want to be associated with bigots. Like, but the funny thing is, they opened up in Georgia because it was cheaper.
Yeah.
They want to take advantage of that, but you can't. So you can't say these companies are progressive SJW liberals when their main intention was to avoid unions in like New York and California. That's why they opened up. That's why they went down to Georgia. That's why, isn't Georgia a right to work state also?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They went in there to take advantage of it. So, but they don't want to be associated with outright bigotry also, especially something like a Jim Crow level, if not worse, voting to suppression. So of course you're going to get that.
Well, I know the Georgia state legislature was still in session today, and just a few hours ago, they voted to revoke a tax cut, tax break that Delta had been benefiting from. And they did it specifically to punish Delta for having the CEO speak out. So,
yeah, but what are they going to do? They're going to have every company. I mean, then companies will be like, oh, we'll just go to another state.
Yeah. Delta, I mean, like, honestly, companies do this shit all the time. Just leave Georgia.
Yeah. And then what are you going to do? Then the people of Georgia have to look and go, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
It's that motherfucker who's the governor.
Well,
I have an idea, guys. Why don't you vote him out?
Yeah.
Well, we can't have an evil Democrat. They steal adrenochrome.
But all of this comes back to, and we were talking about this before we started recording, and I said that I was going to work this in here too. Like, this is the right wing, the Republicans are desperate to prevent the majority from deciding things. When Biden got his infrastructure infrastructure plan going today, he said that a lot of his stuff was going to run against the right to work states. And these states have been designed to prevent workers from talking to each other and from working with each other to get a fair shake at work. You know, these right to work states are designed so that if you have a factory and 1,000 people work at the factory and 900 want to bargain together, they can. You know?
Yeah, it's like all these supposedly companies and stuff that like left states or left the country for everything, and it's like, oh, we're coming back to America or something like that. Yeah, but it's like, but you're doing it in like South Carolina, like where they can't unionize, so you're taking advantage of the cheaper labor. It's like,
I think Biden needs to. I think this is the fundamental issue from which all other issues spring. And Biden needs to expend a lot of political capital addressing it quickly. Like whatever executive orders he can, whatever legislative action he can get through, whatever he can do, he needs to start making it more. He needs to start making it easier for people to vote. Period. I don't know how he does it. But he needs to start figuring it out. You know, that's the fundamental issue going forward. Is making sure everyone. If he makes sure everyone votes, all the other issues begin to get addressed.
Well, the thing that will allow that is if they get rid of the filibuster.
Yeah, that would definitely be one way, and I'm not opposed to that.
The Republicans give speeches and complain and say basically it's like, what is it, SR1 or something?
HR1, yeah.
HR1, which will basically only get through without the filibuster.
Yep.
With the filibuster gone, you could get that through, and then you hear like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham talk about how like the Republican will never win again, and it's like, well, I don't know. Why is that? Why would a Republican never win again? It's like, explain to us. What do you mean?
This one's easy. You get rid of the filibuster. You pass HR1. You make Washington D.C. and Puerto Rico states. Bam, you're done.
And
that's it. You can knock off early.
And Donald Trump said it when he was president. He even said it himself too. He said that he wanted to deny people the vote because he said it. Republicans can't win an election if everyone votes. He said it. He said if everyone votes, Republicans will never win again. What the fuck? I mean, like, I love it. He said the quiet stuff out loud, and it doesn't register with people when they're like,
add DC and Puerto Rico as states.
I don't even think they even need to add Puerto Rico in. I think could add, because again, it's up to Puerto Rico if they want to do that, but definitely add DC.
Yeah, but they voted.
DC is enough to shaking up the pot forever.
Puerto Rico's voted a bunch as to whether or not they want to be a state, and it's always in the 70 or 80% rank. I mean, like they've.
I'm just saying it's not.
I agree. They don't have to be. Yeah, that's a secondary issue.
There is like supposedly like a huge right-wing contingent in Puerto Rico, but regardless, it would force the Republicans to have to appeal to the Puerto Rican community in some way, some form that would make it attractive for these people to want to vote for them. And that the Republicans don't want to deal with that.
It's going to take a little bit more than a few rolls of bounty.
Yes, that's a reference to when was it a hurricane?
Yeah, it's a big hurricane, Irma.
One of the worst hurricanes to hit down Puerto Rico, and unfortunately, President of the United States was Trump when it happened, and he was a total piece of shit. First of all, Republicans were shocked that Puerto Rico is not its own country, but actually part of the United States.
Well, here's the last thing I'll throw in there, because we were looking for a place to work this in there. Ben Shapiro had a video out today that said, like, waiting 10 hours in line to vote is voter suppression, just like making someone wait 10 hours in line to ride Space Mountain is ride suppression. He was basically saying, like, you don't have a right not to vote. I mean, you don't have a right to vote quickly. You know, like, if you have to wait, you're still getting your right. To which I say, fuck you, you racist kazoo.
Yeah, fuck him. Well, first of all, you have to do it in the voice. You don't have a right. You have about as much of a right to vote as you do waiting on Space Mountain. Fuck him. He's a piece of shit. But listen, people call him stupid. I'm like, no, he's not stupid.
Yeah, right. That is true.
I don't think he's definitely not the genius brain that I feel like.
No.
But he's smart enough to know that his audience is very stupid.
Yeah.
And it's not even just that, like, he just says things that he provides really bad talking points that other right-wingers will use. You will start hearing that get regurgitated in some way or some form.
Yes, absolutely.
Watch it. There's probably people on Twitter that'll find, like, them saying things, and then they'll break it down. It'll get to, like, Joe Rogan saying something in a different way, but saying the same thing as Ben Shapiro did, just in a different manner. It's like a pipeline, and it usually starts with like Ben Shapiro or someone else in that area, because they're perceived as smart. But again, I don't think is it stupid what he said? Yeah, it's incredibly stupid, and it's amazing that he said it, and with no irony attached. Nope. It's a shitty. It's like like you're comparing voting to a ride waiting at the park. Like, fuck you. Yeah, he's an asshole. There's nothing else to say about him. He'll always say something dumb or stupid. And the thing is, again, too, it's like it's designed. He says something that's designed to trigger the libs.
Yeah.
It's like I tweeted this thing about, like, Ted Cruz, and I said same thing with, like, Matt Gaetz. I think he serves the same purpose. What do people actually like Ted Cruz? Like, do they like him, or do they like? Is it just that they want him to enact, like, they dislike him because he'll enact what they want? But do they like him as a person? And they said that someone wrote something really good and said it doesn't matter if they like him or not. They like that he is hated so much by the left.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they need. They don't need that he is so toxic to liberals, progressives, the left, whatever, that's what they want. They may not even like him, but it doesn't matter. He does an excellent job pissing people off on the other side. And that's it. It's about owning the libs. It's all it is at the end of the day. It's like Matt Gaetz. Like, someone posted a thing about Matt Gaetz, and like it was like his TWI photo where he went to jail. Right?
Yeah.
He has a mugshot.
Yep, he does.
And someone said before and after, and I guess after this is all done, a mugshot. And I said, like, the people who voted for him, it's like the kind of people who vote deserve politicians like this. It's like what do you think you're getting out of this? It's like he's not going to improve your life in any way.
Not in any measurable way.
He was being interviewed, and he went on this weird tirade. And he was talking about how, like, you know, we're the ones for people. Like, the left wants you not be able to eat fried food. It's like, what? We're okay with you eating like shit and dropping dead at 50. We almost prefer you did that. That way you're not on the social
healthcare. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It is a screwy one. It's
all right. What's the next one?
Well, we touched on it a little bit, but I don't know if you wanted to go into it in too much more depth. We have we have a grab bag at the end. We're going to talk about Palin catching COVID. We're going to talk about Chet Hanks and New York legalizing marijuana. We talked about it a little bit, but I didn't know if you wanted to add another thing to the transgender issue in Arkansas.
Oh, I just want to, this one is fucked up. So in Arkansas, and this is the start, you're going to start seeing this copy on the states, just like the voter suppression in Georgia.
Yep.
They put in this bullshit saying like they're basically taking away healthcare rights away from trans kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, someone could say, oh, well, you know, they just don't want government funding like puberty blockers and stuff.
Sure.
Every time they do dumb shit like this, well, one, they're basically attacking a marginalized group. They're basically bullying children right now. And they basically they're legitimizing the bullying of transgender kids. So good job, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Really shitty.
That's pretty on brand for Arkansas. Yeah, that's just more of the same. I want to see how that unfolds, because ideally Georgia will be the blueprint for people stopping stuff like this. Go ahead.
Well, like I said, I just think, like, you know, I know people who like have kids who are trans.
Yeah.
And it's fucked up. And it's fucked up because, again, it's like, you know, we talked about this before, like, you know, gay marriage became legal, but there's still issues that gay people have to deal with. Like, just because marriage became legal for gay people, there's still like a lot of weird laws and stuff. Like, I know a couple that have kids, and like only gay people still have to deal with this, and depending on the state they're in too, I guess, or maybe it's also, I don't know, but they have to like adopt legally the spouse or whatever. Like if their spouse had the kid, like they're a lesbian couple, the spouse had the kid, even though that's her kid too, she's the mom, they've been married, like, I raised that baby, it's my daughter, she has to legally adopt that kid. They can't just say their marriage alone doesn't just
automatically.
Like, I am the father of my son,
right?
And my wife is the mother of my son. It's like that is it. It was that. But gay people have to deal with that bullshit still. It's like
eventually the law is going to have to catch up to stuff like that, you know. And some of it's just going to be like.
I'm trying to find it real quick about my issue with the whole.
The Arkansas thing.
Yeah, well, it's like it's also part of the right. We talk about this, how the right is all of a sudden claims to be concerned about female athletes, female sports. It's being inundated by all those transgender men, trans women coming in so they could steal scholarships and all this nonsense that they're trying to create.
Yeah,
they're literally trying to cancel people. And I find it interesting that the right is so concerned about female sports all of a sudden. It's really weird.
All of a sudden.
And it's weird because I feel like it goes to conflict with what they really want women to be, which is just broodmares.
Yeah, that's.
I find it interesting that they're so concerned about female sports. It just seems to contradict what they really want women. I would imagine that female sports in itself is almost too progressive.
Yeah.
Like,
women. Well, there's go ahead. No, I was gonna say I'll save that for another day. I was gonna say there's a lot of like Title IX resentment that comes from how women's sports were elevated, and even at the high school level, even with like pretty progressive teachers, a lot of times people will like resent Title IX, and but anyway, that's more of a different topic. I guess we can go to our kind
of getting COVID. Let's just knock this out of the way real quick. All right, so she got COVID, and I guess she got hit really hard. I guess she might still be suffering from symptoms.
She said she's like hallucinating and shit.
I feel like that was pre-COVID. Like I heard she's a nut. She's definitely always was a little off rocker.
Yeah.
Great. Do you remember Bristol Palin's like shitbag boyfriend?
Oh yeah.
When that knocked, they tried like making him into a thing, right?
Yeah.
But then, like he kind of like he tried becoming a thing or whatever, but he came out against Sarah Palin like really hard.
Right.
And like there's a great interview I read about him where he talked about, it was like in Vanity, I don't remember what it was in, Vanity Fair or something like that.
Sure.
And he talked about Sarah Palin, how horrible she was. Like,
yeah.
just,
I remember that.
She was like, he said like basically he would like, he wasn't with Bristol anymore, but he would just talk really well about her, talking about like how this poor girl like basically was like really the mom of the family.
Yeah.
And how like Sarah Palin would just come home, lock herself in a room eating Taco Bell Crunch Wraps. But like just take a bath and like basically like a shitty mom. Like
yeah.
totally did not take care of her kids, like left it all on her daughter. Do you remember the one rumor going around about Sarah Palin?
Yeah.
The fake pregnancy.
Oh no, I remember the one where like her youngest kid, the one that had Down syndrome, was supposedly not really her biological kid. It was
no, it's her daughter's kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said there was out of nowhere, all of a sudden she was pregnant.
Right.
It was not like months before McCain picked her.
Yeah.
And there's photos, and they found the pregnancy stomach, and people were like, this isn't really a conspiracy. It's just like, this looks bizarre.
Yeah.
She's had all these other kids, and there's photos of her and her pregnant stomach.
Right.
But then her pregnant stomach just looks really weird here all of a sudden. Like just wasn't as pronounced, or it wasn't positioned right. It was almost like, remember Arrested Development when Elaine from Seinfeld was on there and she was pregnant? Yeah. Well, regardless, I could do a whole thing. Sarah Palin is like, it's crazy how she used to be like the weirdest, craziest thing.
Oh yeah, now she's like relatively mainstream.
Almost. Okay, so she got COVID, and she said like, she's like suffering from it, and she was like telling people to wear a mask. And I tweeted and said, Sarah Palin getting COVID-19, continually suffering from symptoms, and telling people to take it seriously and wear a mask proves that she is part of the old GOP guard.
Yeah.
The GOP doesn't care if you get COVID-19 and die from it. They will just say it doesn't exist or it's a flu.
Right.
And
yeah,
I'll
that's true.
This. I mean, because people would say the old saying about Republicans was always like, if you wanted to get a Republican on your side or something, or if you wanted to get a Republican on the cause, make sure it affects them in some way or some form, like their kid dies from it, or
their daughter comes out as gay, and
Well, that didn't work with Cheney. Cheney was
didn't work with Liz. Dick Cheney. No, he didn't do any meaningful.
Especially during the 2004 election when they were attacking gay marriage, he like hit her. They actually not Liz, not the one in Congress, it's the other one, the lesbian.
Yeah. No, I know exactly.
He wasn't even invited on stage when Bush and Cheney came out during the 24 election, like for the GOP convention.
Right.
When they would come out and everyone would be clapping for this is the candidates. And all their wives and kids and grandkids were on stage. Not her. Not that one.
Yeah. Well, it is proof that Palin is part of that older generation.
And people have this, but I think modern day GOP doesn't give a fuck. If they don't. Came down with COVID, which she supposedly has had it actually, they don't care.
Yeah. But I heard Palin's got it bad, and that she's like hallucinating, and she's older.
Picture her with her googly eyes, like whoa, like a whirly burrow.
Yeah,
I don't even remember what she looks like.
I saw a picture of her today when I was looking up her COVIDness, and she looks fine. I mean, they choose sometimes like pretty unflattering. They'll choose pictures that make her look crazy. And the pictures I saw, she was kind of like making a goofy expression, and she just kind of looked, like she had just enjoyed a big bowl of Cocoa Puffs or something.
You mean she was cuckoo?
Yeah. So, but I think some of that's just sort of like a
editorial choice.
Exactly. I'm not going to knock her on that. Look, I got a million problems with Sarah Palin. I'm not going to go like down the route of going after her looks.
Two things about Sarah Palin is like you wouldn't have Trump if it weren't for Sarah Palin. Like,
right. No, that's
or you
true.
wouldn't have Trump the way he was. Sarah Palin, there's two funny things about her. One, do you remember like all the Photoshop imagery of her when she was running?
Yeah.
And there was one with her in a bikini holding a gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't her. That was Photoshop. That wasn't
Oh, geez.
Very good Photoshop on that one.
Yeah. I was going to say, I remember that picture.
Interesting COVID-19 fact about Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
The night, I think I remember talking about this on our podcast. The night it was announced that COVID-19 was a real threat in this country and that they're going to start shutting things down was the same night when The Masked Singer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Was on. It was the first night of season 3 or something, I think. I don't watch that show anymore. I think this turned me off from that completely. There was a bear.
Yeah.
A sexy bear.
Right. Not a pedo bear.
No, not a Matt Gaetz bear.
Right.
And she was singing like Baby Got Back or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it was revealed in the end of the episode that it was Sarah Palin under the mask.
Right.
And she was singing Baby Got Back as the credits were rolling. And as the credits were rolling, they announced that everything was getting shut down. And it was like the end of the world. So right. Palin was the closest thing to Nero with the film.
Yeah.
So I will live in me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'll always think of her as the one. Why the fuck was she on the show again? Right wingers on reality
always
competition shows is discussed. Like there's a weird pipeline for that. And then the announcing of COVID.
Yeah.
I hope she gets better.
Sure. Why not?
But I'm glad that she's telling people to wear a mask.
Yeah, good for her.
I mean, it took her she had to get COVID to get it, but I'll give her credit because I don't even think the current GOP in power would even do that.
Better than most.
Yeah.
Well, this brings us to another person who's brought us some glad tidings. Chet Hanks has wished us all a happy white boy summer.
Chet Hanks is the Roger Clinton of the Hanks family.
Yeah, because there's a good Hanks son who has
there's like 3 Hanks sons. There's the Hanks son
Ernie
from Colin Hanks, who's had a pretty good acting career on his own. He's been in a lot of movies. He was in Peter Jackson's King Kong. He was in a couple of comedies. He was the bad guy in a season of Dexter. He's been in a lot of stuff. He was
in Orange County with Jack Black.
Yep, that's like his first big movie. He was in Jumanji. The older version of the Jonas Brothers. In Jumanji.
Right.
He's Colin Hanks, which is weird.
Right.
What's going on? So Chet Hanks is remember Billy Carter? I guess.
Yeah.
Had a shitty brother or something.
Billy Bear.
Supposedly he peed on the side of the White House or something like that.
That may be exaggerated, but yeah, he was an embarrassed. He was Roger Clinton before Roger Clinton was Roger Clinton.
My favorite thing Roger Clinton ever did was that he was in the direct-to-video sequel of Pumpkinhead 2, where Roger Clinton played like the mayor of the town.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, good for Roger Clinton.
Yeah.
I always, for some reason, when I picture Roger Clinton, I only see oh my God, what's that guy's name from Long Island? The Long Island Lolita.
Oh yeah, Joey Buttafuoco.
Yeah, I don't know why I think looks like Joey Buttafuoco, but
yeah,
no idea. Chet Hanks is like, if you wouldn't even, he doesn't really look like Tom Hanks. Like Colin Hanks, you could tell is Tom Hanks.
Right.
And I guess he's not from the current marriage. Colin Hanks.
Okay, that makes sense.
He was interviewed Colin Hanks about Chet Hanks, and he said something like, "Well, he's like a lot. I think he's like a decade older than Chet Hanks. Like Colin Hanks isn't that. Like he's like probably in his 40s now.
Yeah.
Chet is in his. You would believe it or not, Chet is in his 30s.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You would think he was 20. Listen. I don't know much about him. He's done some acting. He's like he wants to be a rapper. Someone made a joke and said that you could tell that like he was a little kid when Eminem was rapping, and probably left it's
indelible.
Yeah, imprinted on him for the rest. And it was like it's like Eminem's tip of his finger touched Chet's top of his head, and just
like the fucking Sistine Chapel or something.
Or they say like an imprint on a bird or something.
Yeah,
like,
he does even count. He has like an Eminem vibe to him, you know.
Yeah, and he's got like a bunch of shitty tattoos, and but I think in the end of the day, he means well. Like when he posts things, it was really funny. He puts out like a lot of social media stuff, and he says he's free with his language. He says things how he, he's odd in some way, but he's also kind of funny. There was all the QAnon nuts that accused Tom Hanks of being part of like the set. They include him as part of that stuff, like the sex trafficking and all that.
Right.
Like Tom Hanks was famous for, well, besides being a super famous actor, he was famous for being one of the first celebrities to get COVID.
Yeah. Real early.
Yeah, and Chet Hanks like put out this funny video, basically like just attacking like the QAnon people and stuff, saying because they're trying to, it's like, no, my dad, like, yeah, we're part of the cabal, we're part of the. Like we're part of the Illuminati, He put out a weird thing recently about White Boy Summer. And it's an odd thing to say, no matter what your intention is.
Right.
When someone says White Boy Summer, the first image that pops in my head is the guys holding the tiki torches in Charlottesville. That was definitely a white boy summer.
I think now my daughter loves like top 40 music or whatever. She's like 10. Do you remember probably about 6 months ago there was a song called Hot Girl Bummer? Do you remember that?
No.
Okay, there's a song called Hot Girl Bummer that was super popular for like a couple weeks. And now whenever I think of the phrase white boy summer, I immediately like superimpose that on the song Hot Girl Bummer. And that's where I'm at. It's just, it's a mystery to me what the guy's talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. But he's like, I want to make it clear when I say like white boy summer, I don't mean like, Trump, NASCAR, like that kind of stuff. And then he's like, black girls or something like that. He's like, that's all year round. It's like, I don't know. There's something really, I don't know. It's like, he's just it's just funny because it's like Tom Hanks is like deified. Like,
right. Yeah. He's like, venerated.
People thought he is Mr. Rogers or something. Like, he played him recently.
Well,
that movie was like okay.
I didn't see it. I don't care to see it.
It was all right. It's not worth. If you don't care, it's not worth it. Like it was.
I love Mr. Rogers. I don't need a biopic of him.
It wasn't. It was bizarre. It was like weird. It was mostly about this other guy, and who meets Mr. Rogers. It's like an odd. I found it to be really odd. I thought it was going to be a biopic on Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
It wasn't at all. It focuses on like an interview that Mr. Rogers has like in the early 90s or something with this reporter, and the movie just is all about this reporter. It's like if you went to go see that movie, you would be like, was this a bait and switch? Like Mr. Rogers is in it, but like he's almost like a weird, like a wizard character. Like, like he's not the main character. He's wise and like he helps this reporter out in a way. Like gives this guy confidence or something. It's really a strange movie. It's I don't know how to describe it, but like I said, I can imagine 95% of the people who went to go see Mr. Rogers
right
were just like you just said. I want to see a biopic about Mr. Rogers, and they got like the movie should have been called "The Man Who Was Helped" by Mr. Rogers.
Some dude who knew Fred.
Some dude who Mr. Rogers helped.
All right, well,
2.5 hours long.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Chet Hanks is just, it's funny. That's all. It's just like, he's this absurd, it's like a weird character. It's like, here, on this one. Chet Hanks was putting out other videos, and one of the things was, he was like, and this is like a Meghan McCain moment coming from Chet Hanks. Chet Hanks posts like talking about how like I guess he does like a class or something, and he'll teach you how to get into the industry or something like that. All the tips and tricks you need to get into.
Sure.
And it's really weird because I'm like, who is this Chet Hanks? What is he?
Tip number 1: be Tom Hanks's kid.
Come out of the right vagina and make sure that the dad is Tom Hanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, good to know.
I thought that was a very Meghan McCain moment.
That's an inside tip. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the key. You want to make it in Hollywood? Here's the tip.
Oh, fuck.
Make sure your dad is super famous. All right. Is there anything else? I feel like we missed one other thing.
We were going to mention New York legalizing marijuana. We talked about that briefly when we were talking about the right to vote. I just think that like that's great. More of that. Yeah.
More states. I'm shocked it took so long for New York to happen. I feel like it was accelerated because of the
Como stuff. Yeah.
Well, I feel like it was going to happen anyway. It just happened quicker. So I feel like New York, don't force Como to resign, or say
just keep threatening him. Yeah, keep
threatening him, and man, you're gonna get some real progressive shit.
Bullet trains.
What?
Bullet trains.
Yeah. Maybe the MTA will actually work. Get
pills that replace the need for food. It'll be jetpacks.
Jetpacks for all. Well, let's start with something that seems like
plausible. Sure.
Plausible, or maybe unplausible. Open up get him to open up another line in the city for the subway.
Yeah.
Get him to fix the MTA.
We're bringing back cats. We're bringing back.
Again, you're not from New York. I think this is like silly stuff. Maybe finally finish the construction of the Brooklyn Queens Expressway.
Sure.
Let's just finish that job. So I think that's, like you said, just keep threatening to resign. We're gonna get. And again, it would only reason why this works, threatening a politician, is because he's a Democrat.
Yeah.
If he had an R next to his name, he wouldn't give a fuck.
True. Yeah. All right. That's our show. That's our show.
Yep. All right. Well, on that note, I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that.
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That. Please like, comment, share, and if you haven't done already, please follow us on Instagram, YSGOAT, Facebook, YSGOAT, and Twitter, YSGOAT. Thank you, and have a great day.